the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the likes.
The Chicago Bears roster has some clear needs that include offensive line and defensive line, but new Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson just made it very clear on one position group he really wants to upgrade this offseason. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. All right, Bears fans, something that I found really interesting over the last couple of days watching Ben Johnson, take his interviews over the last couple of days after being introduced as the new Chicago Bears head coach, is that he made it very clear on how much he already really loves this Chicago Bears roster, stating things that it's already loaded with talent that includes Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Montez Sweat, TJ Edwards, among others. And he already even called the Chicago Bears roster a sleeping giant. He said that he was most concerned about the Chicago Bears, even when he was with the Detroit Lions for the last couple of years. But in multiple interviews following his hiring, he made it very clear that he wants the Chicago Bears to focus on the offensive line and defensive line, and rightfully so. That's something that we have talked about over the last even couple of years, that the Chicago Bears really need to focus on building the trenches, because you win and lose football games in the trenches. So Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson will make that a huge focus. Really building this offensive line, especially the interior of the offensive line. I know a lot of people will argue saying, hey, we have our two tackles in Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones, and really just need to build the interior. And then even on the defense side of the football, you have Montez Sweat, but you can definitely get someone on the other side of him to really complement him, and then maybe work on getting some depth behind Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings as well when you're looking at the Chicago Bears defensive line. But in an appearance on The Herd when he was talking to Colin Cowherd, Ben Johnson made it very clear that he hoped to add to the running back position to make it a team strength. Bears fans, this is exactly what he had to say to Colin Cowherd.
The number one deciding factor of winning and losing games right now is quarterback success and quarterback efficiency. But the best way you can help that for a young player especially is to have a great running game. And so, listen, that's something that we are going to hang our hat on. We'll see how well we improve up front. I like the backs that we already have on the roster, and we can certainly look to augment that position group as well. But it's going to start there, and it's going to take everybody, not just those two. We need great tight ends blocking. We need our perimeter players willing to block down the field so that we can spring long runs. And that's something that we've been able to encourage and get done in my past. So I'm looking forward to bringing that here to Chicago as well.
Bears fans, Ben Johnson really wanting to focus on the offensive line and defensive line, and even adding to the running back position for the Chicago Bears football team. It is really not surprising whatsoever. When you really think about what he had in Detroit, it makes a whole lot of sense. He had the O-line, the D-line, running backs in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And a lot of people will say that the Detroit Lions offensive line is probably one of the best in football, if not the best unit in the National Football League, which got a lot of people concerned on when the Chicago Bears prior to hiring Ben Johnson. That's why there was a lot of Bears fans out there a little bit concerned about him being the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, because we understood that the Chicago Bears offensive line is not there yet, right? They're still working towards getting there, but they definitely have something special over there in Detroit, and the Bears already have a lot of solid pieces in place. You look at guys like Montez Sweat, Javon Dexter, Darnell Wright. Of course, you already have the quarterback position in Caleb Williams figured out. You have Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. So the Chicago Bears already have a whole lot of core pieces, but as always, they still have a lot of work to do, and they need some more core pieces on this roster, and they have a whole lot of resources to really make that happen this offseason. We're talking about around $66 million in cap space, and that can, number can increase by maybe making a couple of cuts here and there to get that number higher. Obviously, you have a whole lot of draft capital. You have the number 10 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. You have picks number 39 and 41 in round 2, and you even have pick number 72 in round 3. So the Chicago Bears should have really no issue issues in really upgrading a whole lot of positions. But here's what I find interesting is him really wanting to upgrade the running back position. And then there's a lot of Bears fans out there that were really not happy with DeAndre Swift this season, even though he had a really good year. In 17 games. He had 253 carries, 959 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 42 catches on 52 targets for 386 yards, had no receiving touchdowns. But I feel like DeAndre Swift definitely had his moments behind to me, a unstable offensive line where he looked really good. So you start thinking like, hey, if we can really build this offensive line, I think DeAndre Swift can be a really good option. But there's a lot of Bears fans that would love to see the Chicago Bears upgrade the position to maybe a running back that fits Ben Johnson maybe a little bit more. And don't forget that DeAndre Swift actually has experience playing under Ben Johnson. It was Ben Johnson's first year calling plays with the Detroit Lions back in 2022, in a year where he had, in 14 games, he had 99 carries, 542 rushing yards with 5 rushing touchdowns. He also had 48 catches on 70 targets, 389 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So definitely not the best year for DeAndre Swift. You would probably actually call that a down year, especially after the couple past seasons that DeAndre Swift had with not only the Philadelphia Eagles getting over 1,000 rushing yards, and of course with the Chicago Bears this past season where he was only 41 yards away for having back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. But a lot of people are questioning DeAndre Swift's fit in Ben Johnson's offense. Obviously, Ben Johnson made it very clear that, hey, I'm coming over here to Chicago, like basically like a clean slate. It's not just going to be plopping my old playbook from the Detroit Lions and throwing it on these players. I'm here to fit to these players' strengths, so fitting to Caleb Williams' needs, fitting to Rome Odunze and DJ Moore's strengths, Cole Kmet's, and even DeAndre Swift's strengths as well. So I'm not sure what the status of DeAndre Swift is going to be. Ryan Poles literally just signed him last offseason, so I think he's going to be a part of Ben Johnson and Chicago Bears plans. But who can the Chicago Bears actually add to the Chicago Bears roster to upgrade the running back position? Because once again, Ben Johnson made it very clear that that's what he wants to do. He wants to upgrade the running back position to make it a team strength. And once again, it makes a whole lot of sense because he had Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery with the Detroit Lions. It's a 1-2 punch. One is a speedster and one is a power back. And I think the reason why people are looking at DeAndre Swift, because he is really not a workhorse type of back, right? He's not going to carry the ball 25 or 20 to 25 plus times during a game. And it seems that we can keep DeAndre Swift, but I think the Chicago Bears fan base and maybe even Ben Johnson wants a workhorse type of back to complement the style that DeAndre Swift plays with. So let's go ahead on today's episode of Geek on the Mic, talk about a couple of different running back options and upgrades that Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, and the Chicago Bears can consider to add to the Chicago Bears roster during this offseason. So I'm going to give you guys 2 free agency options. I'm also going to give you 2 options in the NFL draft as well. And as always, as I'm going through these names, drop some running back options in the comment section as well. I would love to hear from you guys. First and foremost, starting with free agency this offseason for the Chicago Bears. A name that sounds pretty intriguing to me is Najee Harris. He is only 26 years old. In 2024, he had 263 carries, 1,043 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. And the thing I love about Najee Harris, he is that workhorse type of back. He's not an explosive running back, but he is consistent. He's reliable as a runner and a pass catcher as well. And a lot of people don't realize about Najee Harris that he has had over 1,000 rush yards in 4 straight seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it's looking like that they're not going to re-sign him. So I think he would be an outstanding compliment with a guy like DeAndre Swift. And I understand a lot of Bears fans will say, well, Keek, how about Roschon Johnson? I'm not sure what the status of Roschon Johnson's going to be with the Chicago Bears roster. Of course, Ben Johnson can decide to run it back with both DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. But by his remarks over the past couple of interviews and how he's been so adamant about really upgrading the running back position and making it a team strength. I don't know if Roschon Johnson is going to be a part of the plans. Maybe he can be running back 3. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Roschon Johnson, but Najee Harris seems to me would be a really solid option for the Chicago Bears. He's a workhorse type of back. He'd be a really good complement, in my personal opinion, with already a guy like DeAndre Swift. Another guy that's pretty interesting if you're looking just in free agency, and to me, the free agency class for running backs is not really strong this year, so definitely not a benefit for a team that may be looking for some upgrades at the running back position. But I also do like the name of Aaron Jones. He is a little bit older, 30 years old. I like to call him the Chicago Bears killer. Aaron Jones has killed the Chicago Bears for years and years and years and years. So can you finally imagine having a guy that has torched us for all these years and actually put him on the Chicago Bears roster and complement him with DeAndre Swift? In 2024, he had 255 carries for 1,138 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, also added 51 catches for 408 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns as well. So once again, a really solid season for Aaron Jones. He is 30 years old, so definitely not a good age for a running back. But I think when you're looking for a guy that could do multiple things, right? You use him on the ground, you can use him out of the backfield as well. The only thing about Aaron Jones, I feel like him and DeAndre Swift kind of have a similar skill set. So you definitely don't want to have 2 of the same running backs. So if I'm looking at the 2 free agency running backs that I listed on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I would probably definitely be more interested in a guy like Najee Harris, because once again, he is a workhorse type of back, and I feel like he would complement DeAndre Swift's skill set a little bit better. So Bears fans, how you feeling about my 2 free agency options in Najee Harris and Aaron Jones? And also drop any other free agency options in terms of running backs down below in the comment section. Now looking at the NFL draft, and I know it's a name that we're going to have to talk about. He's already been in a whole bunch of Chicago Bears mock drafts, and that is Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State, staying at 5'9", 215 pounds. His 2024 stats were remarkable: 374 carries for 2601 rushing yards and 29 rushing touchdowns. And yes, I thought that was a typo as well, but he absolutely balled out at Boise State. He was a Heisman finalist as well. He has exceptional vision, great ability to gain yards after contact, great contact balance as well. To me, I feel like he can definitely be that workhorse back for the Chicago Bears and complement DeAndre Swift really well, and maybe even become running back 1 here in Chicago. The only issue I see with Ashton Jeanty, I am not sure if he is worth the number 10 overall pick. If we're going through this process, and let's say, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, some of the best edge rushers are gone at number 10, and the Chicago Bears look at their draft board and he is the best player available, then yes, I think I would be okay with the Chicago Bears taking Ashton Jeanty. But I think there is other needs on this roster in terms of NFL draft, meaning like adding to the defensive line, edge rusher, offensive line as well, that I don't think Ashton Jeanty will be ahead of those guys. But once again, you have to understand Ben Johnson and where he's coming from with the Detroit Lions, having Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I can definitely see him being interested in a guy like Ashton Jeanty. He would be a great complement to what we already have on the Chicago Bears offense, with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and all the other, specialists on the offense as well. So I wouldn't be absolutely upset about the pick if he is the best player available and there's no offensive lineman that I like or defensive lineman that I like, but I would prefer using the number 10 overall pick on someone else. But just give me your opinion on Ashton Jeanty. I know there's a lot of Bears fans out there that really would like Jeanty on the Chicago Bears, but I also know there's the other half of Bears fans that are saying do not use the number 10 overall pick on a running back like Ashton Jeanty. Let me know down below in the comment section how you're feeling about Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. Another name that I really like, Bears fans, is Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. He stands at 5'10", 208 pounds. His 2024 stats were 144 carries, 1,016 rushing yards, and 10 rushing touchdowns. When you look at Travion Henderson, you will be able to get a guy like this in round 2. And I feel like getting a guy like Henderson compared to getting a guy like Genty is, to me, probably a little bit more realistic for the Chicago Bears. And the reason why I really like Henderson is because he is a threat to score at any moment due to his home run speed. This guy had 21 carries of 15 plus yards last season for Ohio State. It seems like Henderson fits what Ben Johnson is looking for a little bit more. And that is not a knock on Ashton Genty. I am just saying that with the number 10 overall pick, you can address the defensive line and offensive line and still land a very good running back that can complement DeAndre Swift really well in round 2. To me, that would be a great opportunity to make our roster better. And I think Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles will be looking at a guy like Henderson. But going back to Henderson a little bit more, he has amazing ability to make defenders miss. He had 37 missed tackles forced for Ohio State last season. Great vision, truly next level when you look at his vision. The Bears will have options to upgrade their roster at some key positions, especially with these two guys, and especially when you're looking at free agency with Najee Harris and Aaron Jones. I am just glad at the end of the day that Ben Johnson has a clear vision on what he wants for the Chicago Bears, right? There's no word salad. There's no confusion like with Matt Eberflus. He has a clear vision. He understands that Caleb Williams is his main priority. He understands that if you want to be really good, if you want to win football games, if you want to be competing for Super Bowls, he understands that Caleb Williams has to take the next level. And just like he mentioned to Colin Cowherd, right? If we want Caleb Williams to take the next level, we also have to complement him with a strong rushing attack. So he understands that Caleb Williams is going to have to make plays with his arms, and Caleb Williams has already showcased that. But I think he understands that this rushing attack can help him get to the next level as well. So I think the Chicago Bears are going to be very active in the running back market. I think they're going to be very active in the offensive line and defensive line market as well. But I'm really intrigued to see who they add in the running back department to upgrade their roster. But all the names I listed on today's episode of Keep on the Mic, I think would be great adds for the Chicago Bears. Let me know of some other names that I missed, rather it's free agency or the NFL draft. And I can't wait to hear the names that you guys list on today's episode of the Keek on the Mic. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for an all new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the Mic. You ain't bout it,